Actually, it's the lead play in our offense.
Double tackle, take the defensive end. If he's over him, if he's not, you drive down the first man who is inside. Pull back and tell him to take the first man outside the offensive tackle. No one goes. Go right by them and field inside. If the YN has the linebacker taken out, he cuts inside. If the YN has the linebacker in, he comes all the way around. So look at this play. What we're trying to get is a seal here and a seal here, and try to run this play in the alley.
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. You can find me on Twitter at Packers_access. You can email us at PackersTotalAccess@gmail.com. You can text us 865-658-5824. I'm joined alongside Tim, live in Green Bay. My man's back in town. Tim, how was the trip, bro?
Oh, it was great, man. Got to spend some time with Pops for his birthday. Had some fun. Kind of got off the radar for a little bit. Just hung out. It was good, man. Thanks for giving me a break for sure. Appreciate it. Guys did a good job holding it down. Shout out to Jacob and Emilio for sure. And you, Clayton, you did a flying solo dolo, man. Always a fun challenge, right?
Man, I used to be conditioned to do that, and now I've gotten so used to 2 or 3 people being on the stream, just hanging out and talking, you know. Now I'm like, man, this is work again. This sucks. But no, it was all right, though. The chat was awesome as usual for sure. Obviously, what are we doing with this dumpster up here? I had this pulled up here for tomorrow. Let's get that off the screen and get to a real background. You ready for this, Tim?
Yeah.
There we go. That's the one. What do you think, man? Is that
65% frozen in time?
I'm telling you, right, man. Look at the joy in his eyes. I'm telling you.
Oh,
I love it. For those of you on the pod, we just put about a life-size shot of Mark Murphy on the screen here. And let me tell you, it was something right out of Andy Griffith. There's no two ways about it. But Derek K going to get us started off right. Says, just go ahead and hit it. Just hit it one time for me. I think I will, actually, since you asked very nicely there, Derek.
65%.
65%. That's what we So, obviously 65% is dead, but the playoffs are very much so alive, Tim. Today we had a couple things go our way, a couple things not go our way. What's awesome about the position that the Packers are in right now is obviously they control their own destiny, and that's all we could ever ask for going into this season. Youngest team in the league. We've talked about it over and over and over. It just sucked watching that Raiders game because they had every opportunity to beat the Vikings, and, man, that would have been best case scenario, no doubt about it. I know you've been a little bit out of the loop, but what I'm going to do here is kind of fill everybody in on what happened today as far as the scores. Tim, I'm going to get your take on all of them as well. And then we'll get into some other stuff here on the backside, a little bit of Pat Mahomes talk. I seen everybody in the chat talking about Patrick Mahomes. Had an absolute meltdown on the sideline, threw a little hissy fit because he didn't get the call. Imagine that. Pat Mahomes didn't get a call. All I could think about while he was throwing that little fit, Tim, was that BS roughing the passer, unnecessary roughness, whatever you want to call it, unnecessary roughness, I guess the technical penalty that got called on the Packers for hitting him inbounds while he's running along the sideline. But you see how he responds, how he reacts when things don't go his way. And that just, I don't know, it irks me, man. It really does. But let's get into the scores real quick. So around the league today, the Bills beat the Chiefs 20-17. That's why, of course, Pat Mahomes threw the fit. We'll hit on it here in a minute. The Eagles are getting ready to play the Cowboys, obviously. The Bears beat the Lions 28-13. The Ravens beat the Rams 37-31. That helped us there. Actually, the Bears beating the Lions gives us a slight chance, and I want to emphasize slight chance of winning the NFC North because the Lions have a pretty easy schedule to wrap it up, especially with injuries and things to the Vikings and other teams. But the Saints beat the Panthers 28-6. That one obviously didn't go our way. The Buccaneers beat the Falcons, and I believe the Buccaneers are now in the lead in the NFC South. So obviously the tiebreaker goes to the Falcons if we were to end with the same record, but right now we're a half a game up on them. That's why it's so important for us to finish out strong, right? The Jaguars dropped it to the Browns 31-17. The Jets beat the Texans 30-6 with Zach Wilson at the helm. Randall Cobb got a touchdown there. That was kind of cool to see. But obviously, we need to mention with the Houston Texans, C.J. Stroud went out with, I believe, what they were diagnosing as a concussion. The Bengals beat the Colts 34-13. 49ers beat the Seahawks 28-16. Obviously, that one helps us a lot there as well with the Seahawks being 6-6 coming into this week. They now dropped to 6-7. The Vikings beat the Raiders in extra innings 3-0. And then, of course, the Broncos beat the Chargers 24-7. So, Tim, anything you want to hit on there, man, as far as those scores? Obviously, I think we had a couple go our way and a couple not go our way. And we'll take a look at the standings here as well.
Tampa and Atlanta. Yeah, interesting. Interesting scenario developing in the dumpster fire that is the NFC South. And a game for us coming up next week at home against Tampa Bay, which could prove to have some playoff implications, certainly, as far as seeding and things like that. Holding the tiebreaker over the Saints is good. But now, of course, we've got Tampa Bay surging here and, looking to improve their record. So that one kind of stuck out to me. And then, of course, happy to see San Francisco taking care of Seattle. That was definitely on the radar as a concern game as far as our playoff implications. So it was good to see that today.
Yeah, for sure. No doubt about it. I know there's a little bit of Jair Alexander chatter. We're going to get to that here shortly, guys. Let's look at the Lions and the Bears box score real quick. You're probably asking yourself, how in the world did the Lions lose to the Bears? Well, obviously they were in Chicago on the road, a little bit chilly, a little bit windy. At least it looked like it in the pregame. But Jared Goff throws 2 picks. He went 20 of 35 for 161, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, had a passer rating of 54.6. Justin Fields protected the football. He didn't turn it over, right? That's the big thing. 19 of 33, 223 yards passing, 1 touchdown with a passer rating of 88.3. He had 12 carries, Tim. 12 carries for 58 yards, average 4.8 yards a carry. And I'm telling you, man, he had a touchdown too. They beat him to death all day long. Some of those runs, I'm like, this guy is not going to last another 3 years in the league. I mean, he just got smoked time and time again. And you can see those defenders too, intentionally trying to fall on top of him. You know what I mean? Because you can't do it in the pocket. And, hey, you're fair game when you're outside of the pocket, right? You're going to play that kind of ball. You're just asking for trouble, man.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I think, it's kind of telling, 19 to 33, little over 200 yards, a tutter, 88.3 rating. That's like as close to lights out as you're going to get with Justin Fields.
It really is, yeah.
As your quarterback. So, good for the Bears. They were due. They needed a win. So, that's cool. Always good to see Detroit lose too. So we'll take it, I guess.
No doubt about it. So obviously the Lions drop one there too. The Bears, they fall to 9-4 now on the season. Let's go to this barn burner right here, man. Vikings Raiders. Not a single point was scored until the 2-minute warning in the fourth quarter. After the 2-minute warning in the fourth quarter, Tim, it was horrendous. You should have seen Lincoln. Lincoln was sitting on the couch with me downstairs. He's looking at me like, is this really happening? I took a picture of him and posted it on Twitter. Like, it was just unbelievable. I've never watched a football game like that. And I know people were bringing up a rain game between Miami and someone back in the day. It might have been the early 2000s or maybe late 90s, but obviously it was a monsoon, muddy, and all that stuff down in Florida. This was, indoors in Vegas. I mean, it looked like a dumpster fire all game long. Aiden O'Connell threw a pick for the Raiders. He was 20 of 31. He threw that pick at the end of the game, if I remember correctly. Look at this, though, Tim. 20 of 31 for 142 yards passing, bro. Like, just horrendous. On the Vikings side, they ended up benching Joshua Dobbs. He was 10 of 23 for 63 yards, no touchdowns, no picks, passer rating of 50.8. They bring in Nick Mullins late there, 9 of 13 for 83 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. Obviously, a field goal was the difference in the game there. I mean, it was hard to watch, dude. So even though the Vikings get the win there and they stay, a step ahead of us, I feel really comfortable saying I like our chances of playing Minnesota as we come down the stretch here, because they're banged up. Another thing that happened too, Tim, I'm going to kind of highlight it here. Justin Jefferson came back from injury, right, and got hurt again. So I'm going to put it up on the screen here and show you guys this. Actually, let me get your take on this Vikings game first, and then we'll put it up on the screen, Tim. I apologize. Anything stick out to you there other than just a bunch of backup quarterbacks playing a bunch of backup quarterbacks, right?
That's what it looks like, And, I didn't watch this game, so I don't want to get into heavy detail. I feel grateful that I didn't watch this game.
You should.
But it does, like, looking at Minnesota's perspective, it's like, you pulled Dobbs and then you basically got the same performance out of Mullins. You got less than stellar production and didn't do much. And that looks like panic, right? If you're kind of musical chairs at quarterback, you're, kind of looking like the New York Jets there a little bit, little panic at the helm. But yeah, I mean, it helps our confidence going against this Minnesota team here towards the end of the year on the road. Makes me really, really wish we would have got that one against them earlier this year at Lambeau. But yeah, they're certainly not as intimidating as they maybe were a little bit earlier in the season. So, hopefully we can leapfrog them. I really think that's a possibility.
Definitely. Omer in the chat said Clayton ain't going to believe we're winning the division until it's done. And when it is, I'm going to ride him hard for, hey, come on now, I'm married. Ride him hard for conceding division 2 weeks ago. LMAO. So let me ask you this, Omer. You want to put a friendly wager on it, my friend?
Let's do it.
You want to put a little friendly wager on it? I'm just saying, a little action, a little money where your mouth is. Maybe, maybe not. Okay. Look at their remaining schedule. Let me ask you this. Do you think that the Lions are going to lose to the Vikings? I'll wait for your answer. I would love to see the Packers win the North. Is it possible? Absolutely, it's possible. Matter of fact, we'll pull up the standings right now. But for you to be so confident, my man, I don't know. I'm just saying. What makes you so confident that the Lions are going to drop one of those two games to the Vikings and the Packers are going to win out? That's my question, right? Now, I don't mean to be a negative Nancy, but you guys know I'm as big a homer as there is when it comes to the Packers. But when you say, he ain't going to believe it until it's done and then I'm going to ride him hard, I'm just saying, bro. That's it's kind of a stout take there, my man. You know what I mean? Let's pull up the standings real quick, Tim. Well, let's get to the Justin Jefferson injury, and then we'll pull up the standings, all right? So Justin Jefferson came back from the knee injury, obviously. It was a knee, right? Was it knee or ankle? What was his injury? Do you remember?
I thought it was knee. I believe it was knee.
I think it was too.
I don't know. Don't quote me on that, but I think so.
Here is the hit he took.
Oh,
I mean, it is.
Oh, R.I.P. to your right side rib cage, brother. Bam.
They're saying a chest injury, but I mean, that has got to be a rib injury, right?
Well, ribs, chest, I'm sure they're waiting for, in-depth x-rays, but I'm assuming, great move though, to free himself up for this hospital ball.
He's still Justin Jefferson. That's a fact.
Yeah. That's a hospital ball though, up high over the middle.
Yeah.
Good night. Oof.
Yeah, bro.
Now, this is the whole, that's where I'm on the fence. It's like, how do you play defense in the NFL anymore? Because he's definitely a defenseless receiver in that situation. But how do you fault a DB for getting his head out of there? He turned his head out and hit with shoulder. That's 100% shoulder contact there. Nothing dirty about that play. It's just one of those unfortunate things that happens in this game.
Right. To the best of my knowledge, they didn't throw a flag. I don't remember seeing one. I just remember immediately thinking, oh, no, dude, that looks bad. It reminded me of Jordy Nelson's rib injury. You remember back in the day?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, along the sideline. I remember
to me, that's the one that ended his career too, Tim. Oh. Like, he was not the same player after that, man.
No, and it was, to his credit, he tried to come back from that too. I believe he missed 1 week, and then he had the flak jacket on, maybe 1 or 2 weeks. And he made an attempt to come back, but you're right, man. I don't know how it's ever the same for you. And that's that area of the field that I really wish, or I wanted them to enforce this defenseless receiver move, because you're going up along the sidelines for a toe tapper, and, that's all you're doing is you're trying to keep your feet down and catch that ball. You're absolutely no threat to turn and run or anything. So that's where I like that defenseless receiver, rule change, but over the middle like that, going up for a high ball, that's just football being football right there. It's unfortunate. Was that Mullins who threw him that one? Or I didn't see that game, or was that earlier with Dobbs?
Early. That would have been Dobbs, yeah.
Yeah. See, if that ball's down, if that's one where you're asking your receiver to kind of do the old, the old baseball slide and make the catch kind of deal, maybe he's okay. But having to go up like that over the middle is, you always cringe when you see your franchise receiver, right, doing that. It's like, ugh.
Yeah, it's tough. Doug in the chat said, do we think that's what got Dobbs benched? I don't know when it happened as far as the benching in conjunction with the injury, but it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, that's got to be tough. Kevin O'Connell was like, it's like you just got your car out of the shop, bro. You just got it painted. Yep. It's brand new paint job. And you take it and curb it right off the bat. Like, whether it's one of your teenage children or maybe your significant other takes it out for a spin and gets it dented up. That's a tough look, man. It's tough. Like I said, my nephew's a big Vikings fan, and I messaged him earlier today. I said, man, it's huge that Justin Jefferson's back because you'll get a true assessment of Josh Dobbs because, there was some rumblings a couple weeks ago that, he may be the quarterback of the future. Of course, he's really cooled off since then. And then after today, I think we can put that to bed. So you got your answer. Unfortunately, you lost your number one player there in Justin Jefferson. I say unfortunately, but you guys know I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. There ain't no two ways about that. Let's see. We'll come back to the Sunday Night Football question there. Right here, Doug says that throw laying out his receiver. Clean hit. There was no flag. Got it. Completely agree. It was a clean hit, man. There's no two ways about it. Let's see what Red Mo says here. Red Mo says Tom Brady said earlier this season, quote, "It's up to the offensive player to protect ourselves. That means a quarterback and wide receiver. Defense is hard enough. Can't be DB's fault when a receiver is flying at him." Yeah, Tom Brady actually said we played the game different. There's so many times that I dirted a ball because I didn't want to get my guy hit. Nowadays, they're actually throwing that past him to try to draw a flag, man. It's got to be frustrating as a defender, right?
Oh, yeah. Like I said, that's why I have so much respect for these guys that do it at a high level because it's even more challenging now to play defense than it was, even five seasons ago, 5 years ago, let alone maybe 10, 15 years ago. It's okay. Like I said, this is the league's effort to make a inherently unsafe game safer, which is going to constantly be a struggle. But it makes these defenders have to be a little smarter, right? You gotta be more anticipatory. You've got to play with your feet a lot more, get yourself in a position to make plays rather than just pure physicality and flying in and knocking someone's block off, But I'm a big fan of hard-nosed football as long as it's not dirty. There's nothing wrong with a good, clean hit. And maybe it looks violent. Maybe it sounds crazy. Doesn't mean that it's illegal or should be penalized. So it's a fine line in the league. It's tough.
Definitely. Jake K in the chat says we're going to talk Packers yet, but we're talking NFC North. We're talking about the playoffs. We're talking about the Packers.
Playoffs?
I don't know what you want me to talk about with the Packers. If you got a specific topic, fire away, my man. If not, then just kind of hang out or go watch something else. I'm not trying to be a prick, but we're talking about how the wins and losses today affected the playoffs for the Packers. Yep. That's what we're talking about. Okay. It's that simple.
And certainly Minnesota losing JJ is a big deal for us in this future matchup.
Yeah. They're ahead of us in the standings right now. They just lost their best player and we're not allowed to talk about it. Like, I don't know, man, that stuff irks me. I apologize to everybody else, but whew. Anyway. All right, let's get to the standings here, Tim. As we hit on them, the playoff picture. This is really cool. CBS Sports does an excellent job with this stuff. They show the current seeding as well as the standings as it sits right now. Then we'll get to the NFC North standings too. So essentially the standings are number 1 seed Philly. Obviously, they're getting ready to play Dallas, the number 5 seed, here in just a second on Sunday Night Football. San Francisco in the 2 seed, Detroit in the 3 seed, Tampa Bay in the 4 seed. Like I said, Dallas in the 5 seed. The Minnesota Vikings in the 6 seed. The team we were just talking about, they are 7-6 now, a half a game up on us. Obviously, playing tomorrow night, we got a chance to maintain that number 7 seed. I think we've got the 7 seed regardless, but I could be wrong there, Tim. If someone wants to do a little bit of digging in the chat, appreciate that. But currently, we are in the 7 seed at 6-6. So the other games that we just mentioned on the box score and how they apply to the Packers is Seattle obviously lost today to the 49ers. They're 6-7 now, so they're a half a game behind us. The LA Rams lost today to the Baltimore Ravens. They're a half a game behind us. And the Atlanta Falcons obviously are down to 6-7 now, and they are a half a game behind us as well. I'm going to drop this banner real quick just to make sure I'm not missing one. Yeah, New Orleans as well, 6-7. So you can see, man, there's not a lot of cushion. Not a lot of cushion for mistake here, man. You got to win these winnable games if you want to get in the playoffs. Anything can happen up to this point. That's why 2 weeks ago when Omer was giving me a hard time about rooting for the Falcons to lose in a game. It was real simple. You want all of these teams that are in the hunt to drop as many games as possible, unless they're playing a head-to-head. Then you can kind of take your pick because there's so many games left in the season. Now you're getting down the stretch. You can really start to zero in on this. As far as what these teams are playing next week, obviously Minnesota travels to Cincinnati. I think that'll be a tough game for Minnesota. I do. We are going to be playing, obviously, the New York Giants tomorrow night. The Seattle Seahawks will be playing Philly at home next week. That's probably going to be a loss for them. Let's be realistic. LA Rams and the Washington football team, Commanders, whatever you want to call them. They're going to be playing in Washington. The LA Rams are. That'll probably be a dub for LA, I would imagine, if I had to pick it. And then Atlanta at Carolina, probably going to be a win for Carolina. New Orleans versus the New York Giants. Probably a win there for the New Orleans Saints if I had to pick one way or another. So you're looking next week. You got to go out and take care of business against the Giants, Tim. You got to stay a half a game. You got to stay in the mix here anyway, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And, this little lull in our schedule here where we got these quote unquote, easy wins, as people like to think, this league will humble you quick, like our head coach says. And, for all intents and purposes, the playoffs have started for the Packers. They went on this 3-game win streak here, right? Or we're on, I believe we're 3-game win streak, 4 out of our last 5 or something like that. Turning your season around. Well, there's very little margin of error. Yeah, there's a scenario where we could drop one of these games and still get in, but I don't like that scenario. I don't want to. I don't want that scenario to play out. I'd like to see us win out. And quite honestly, looking at this playoff picture here, this would be ideal for me, for us to have to go on the road to our nemesis, San Francisco, the hill that we could not get over for the last few seasons, and to have to go in there and play them right away would be great, I think, as opposed to dealing with, maybe Minnesota or Detroit, another divisional rival kind of game, to start your postseason. Those can be tricky when you've seen so much of a team, right? Like we always talk about, it's real difficult to beat a division rival more than once in a season, let alone having to beat them twice. So I don't know, but I do think back to those wonderful days of, running the table and beating the Bears in the last game of the season to go and beat them the next week in the playoffs. That was pretty good too. So you never know, but I like the Packers as the dogs. I like them, without a first round bye, without, division title and all of this. It's like, I'm not rooting for them not to win the division. Don't get me wrong, but I definitely like the idea of like having to keep playing back against the wall football, and being the underdog, having to go on the road. A lot of times, man, that's a death spike for a team. But I think this Packers team, they might be built for that this year. Yeah. So we'll see. And the odds of us getting a home playoff game are slim to none. So we'll just see what they do. But it starts tomorrow night in New York, taking care of business.
Yeah, for sure, man. For sure. Paul Robertson in the chat said Mike McCarthy's appendix, quote, stay positive, guys. I don't know if you heard about that, but he had appendicitis or something, some kind of emergency situation. He was out of the loop for a day and a half and back in the office, my man.
Interesting. It wasn't the Rona like the internet speculated on repeatedly with baseless information. Yeah, I heard a lot of that chatter, and it's like, can't believe everything you read, So glad Coach Mack is doing better though. That's no fun, right? No fun appendicitis.
Let's get you to re-report that real quick for us, Tim. Joking, we ain't gonna do it to you. We don't do it to you.
You got me over here opening up Twitter. I'm gonna doom scroll to find it. But no, I saw some comments about that. Like,
yes,
I don't get it.
People just they immediately want to jump to conclusion. You would have hated the episode this morning, Tim, because we talked about Gary Ellerson and David Bakhtiari going at each other on Twitter over Jair Alexander, and it was an interesting episode. I enjoyed it though. It was cool to kind of dig into what the media actually does in the sports world for just a second.
Oh, we know what they do.
Yeah, exactly. And Jake, you're all good, dude. I apologize for getting snippy with you, man. I completely misunderstood you. That's on me, man. Jake K in the chat said there's actually a movement to bring back the Washington football team Commanders' original name. And like someone actually said it. Yeah, well, Jake said it's actually being led by Native Americans. It's crazy too because like you hear so many different versions of the story. I've heard some people say, yeah, but it's a minute amount. I've heard others say, no, it's a huge movement. You guys know, I've told you, you know, I've got some Cherokee in my blood. And when I was a kid, we rooted for, I'll just say the name because that's what it was. We rooted for the Washington Redskins in the late 80s because my dad was like, you know, that's our people right there. That's our people. You know, it was like a pride thing. I don't understand how people turn it into something negative, but it is hilarious that most of the people that make it negative are actually white people. And I'm like, why do you care if they don't? I just don't understand it, man. I don't understand. 2023 though, man, you're going to get that right for sure.
Yep.
All right, let's see. Let's run through the chat real quick, get caught up. Let me drop this standings down again. We just wanted to hit on that, give everybody kind of a quick update. So a little bit of Jair talk here. Jim in the chat said Jair is done as a football player, chronic shoulder issue. I think it's too early for that personally, Jim, but I respect your opinion. Derek K says Jair Alexander is done as a Packer. That seems to be there's been a lot of talk about that. You know, if you had asked me earlier, Tim, do you think Jair will play tomorrow or not? I probably would have said, yeah. I'm like, he's trending in the right direction. The fact that they already ruled him out, which we'll kind of talk about here in a second, that's a bad look too, man. I don't know, dude. It's just, how do you feel about the Jair situation? Do you think it's strictly injury? And I mean, nothing else. It's just,
I'm gonna be honest with you, I do. I'll jump on the minority of this argument and defend Jair a little bit. Yeah, I do. And I also know that I'm not in that facility every day. Nearly every day. I'm kind of a chronic Lambeau Field loiterer. You never know who you're going to run into over there. But I certainly don't get the access that some of the media does. You know, and I understand that, you know, people that are plugged in a little more, they can offer different insight, but they can also fuel a lot of speculatory kind of commentary on things. Look, Ja blew up that shoulder a few seasons ago. We all remember that play. Him playing hard-nosed football, not being afraid to go in there and lay a guy out, and that's exactly what he did. And he busted that shoulder up nasty. I believe he never had surgery. I still can't confirm if he ever had the surgery. I believe he opted not to. And he rehabbed that shoulder, and that's part of the game. And you could be right that, you know, you have a bad shoulder. You know how many guys in the NFL have bad shoulders? I'd be willing to bet you it's more than half of the league probably has bad shoulders. And, you know, yeah, being a DB, and that's kind of your job sometime, is to go in there and, you know, put a hit on somebody. It's part of football. You know, the idea that there's some kind of, you know, whatever, animosity or whatever it is with Jair and the Packers, and that Ja is, you know, somehow leaning on some or making an injury that's there not as bad or make it worse than it seems so he doesn't have to play. I don't buy that for a moment at all. Now, as far as the commentary, I agree with the sentiment that it's a little easier to tolerate the antics that are Jair Alexander interviews when you're playing football and you're contributing. There's some logic to that argument, but I think it's injury that's keeping Ja off the field. Just like, honestly, we see with Quay. Quay just picked up a shoulder injury. He's going to be missing a game clearly tomorrow night as well. You know, those are serious injuries for a football player. You know, it seems like on the defense, we're dealing with the shoulder issues. On the offense, we're dealing with the hammies. You know, it's part of football, and to fault a player for injuring himself by playing this game is just asinine to me. And, you know, Ja's going to do what he does. What else can he do at this point? If he can't contribute on the field, he's going to hype his teammates up. He's going to, you know, answer questions the way he does when he's asked by the media. You know,
he's going to change. That's for sure.
He's not. And, you know, I also agree with the, you know, the sentiment that you're kind of conflicting the messaging. You know, we talked about LaFleur's messaging to the team. I believe you touched on that this morning a little bit. You know, we got LaFleur saying, hey, the reality is we're a 500 football team. You know, every win matters. This league will humble you real quick. Make sure you keep your head in the game. And then, you know, you've got your cornerback one here on the injury list talking about running the table. Yeah, it's kind of a conflict in messaging. And I agree that might put a little bit of extra pressure on some of the younger guys for sure. So that's valid. But, you know, this whole Ja is done or Ja wants out or Ja is toxic to this team. I've seen nothing to support that whatsoever. And let's be honest, We know about the performance on the field, the inconsistencies or the ups and downs that we've had as of late. But I'll tell you one thing, I don't want to hear anything about last year anymore. Like last year, it might as well be 5,000 years ago. I mean, we are rounding the turn towards the end of this season. Okay. Like, I don't want to hear about his play last year. And we go by the logic, like Coach LaFleur says, you're only good as your last game, correct? Well, let's pull the tape and the numbers on Jair's last game as a Packer. He balled out. He absolutely balled out the last time he put on pads and went on the field. So I'm going to go ahead and defend him. I think he's clearly frustrated, probably frustrated by the fact that he can't go out there. And, you know, you heard the comments about him saying, you know, I'm the type of person who wants to put my best foot forward. And if I feel like I can't put my best foot forward, I don't want to be out there hurting the team. So maybe that's giving you insight that he's been trying to go. And if he feels like he can't go out there and run shoulder first into somebody and make a hit, then maybe that is the idea, to just keep rehabbing and to let Valentine and these guys get some reps. You know, leadership comes in a lot of different forms. You know, we can agree to disagree when it comes to Jair, but I'm not willing to jump out on that limb and say things like he's done or, you know, he's cooked. I mean, it sounds an awful lot like the same things people say about Scoot being glass and all of this stuff. It's just, I don't buy into that at all.
Yeah, if it was strictly the injury, I would 100% agree with you. The part that I'm having a hard time with is Tauger and Wildy and some of the other media members talking about him shouting that out in the locker room a couple weeks ago, 3-4 weeks ago, whenever it was, when he said he spoke to the media. He was real brief, real kind of quiet about it. And then as they walked off, he said, I'm tired of being scolded for things I'm saying to you guys. And that was off the record, basically, is what he said. So it was like, why say that out loud? What you basically said was, hey, my coaches are idiots, and they told me I'm not allowed to say what I actually feel. Like, that's the only part where I'm like, okay.
Well, I mean, you can read it that way, right? Or you could look at it as a guy that's sick of the media. You know, I mean, I was a little put off by the line of questioning, you know, oh, well, so Ja, is it just the injury keeping you off the field? Like, what are you, you know how he wanted to respond to that. Like, what the hell is that supposed to mean? Right.
And that's the thing. Like, if
I think that's my thought was, Clayton, is maybe that was the frustration Ja was saying, is he wasn't frustrated with the Packers PR team or coaching staff telling him to watch what he's saying. He's probably frustrated with the media's questioning.
Well, here's the thing. What I'm referring to was several weeks ago. And what they were asking him about, or what the PR team talked to him about, was when he made the comments that we're just going to have to hold the other team to 0 points. And then he said, maybe I could just play offense. He said something along those lines.
Okay, yeah.
It was those remarks. So that was the part that I'm like, okay. Now, when it comes to the injury, the reporter that asked him that, I wish Ja would respond and say, what are you trying to say? Are you trying to say I'm faking an injury? And put them back on the spot like they try to corner everyone else. Because, you know, they've tried to corner Matt LaFleur multiple times this year.
That's true.
Two media members will, you know what I mean? They'll literally go to each other beforehand and say, look, I'm going to ask this question. If he answers this way, you ask this question. If he answers the other way, you ask this question. Then I'll come back and ask it, like trying to corner, you know?
Yeah.
So I wish Ja would have, you know, if that's how he felt. That's the part, too, that's frustrating, is like, I don't think the coaches and the team would be upset with him if he looked at the reporter and said, are you trying to say I'm faking an injury? Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
But again, it's just, I've learned my lesson in the past thinking these media guys don't know anything. And I'm trying to figure out, okay, who are the ones you can really trust as far as when they say something, it's an honest assessment. It's, hey, they've heard this. And hearing Wildy and Tausch have that conversation just really kind of set me back, like, they know something else is going on behind the scenes. That's the only thing. If it was just the injury and nothing else, I'm totally cool with it. And I still want Jair on the team. I don't like that they made him the highest paid corner, seeing that we play a Fangio-style defense. It's not money, you know, as best you can spend it. However, he is one of the top corners in the league when he's healthy, right? So,
absolutely.
And all the way around for sure.
And Jair's been nothing but consistent as far as any of this. Like, Jair Alexander has been nothing but Jair Alexander through all the ups and downs, the injury list and everything. Like, the way he's talking to the media, like, you know what I mean? I guess I'm kind of shocked that people are kind of so surprised by this. It's like this is how he is. He's been this way since day one, since we drafted him. He's an outspoken guy. You know, you're not going to like everything he says sometimes, and you know, I'm with that crowd too. You know, I hear you. It's hard to hear a guy talk trash and, you know, run your mouth when you're not able to contribute. You know, but we got to play devil's advocate, and maybe you're right, Clayton. Maybe there is something else going on there.
I hope not.
Sure. And I do too, but I can tell you whether or not, you know, Wilde and Tausch have some kind of inside information or not. We still don't know. We still don't know for certain if there is or there isn't. But I can tell you this. If he comes back healthy and he plays lights out football, we're not going to hear any more of this chatter.
Right.
You know, we love Ja when he's on and doing his thing. You know, it's like, I don't know. I'm just trying to be fair here. And, you know, part of being a fan and supporting your team and your players is supporting them 100% of the time. Even if you don't necessarily agree with attitude or the way they're saying certain things, I'm going to defend a player who's basically outright being accused of lying about an injury.
Right.
That's just how I feel.
You got to take people for their word until they prove otherwise. And, yeah. Again, that's the only thing that's setting me back is knowing those guys are kind of dropping these hints that something else is going on behind the scenes. That's the part where I kind of step back and go, dang, that sucks.
And you notice how they won't divulge it though? You know, why can't you, if you've got the info, spill it? If you're this, right. if you've got it, spill it. And, you know, we're the kings of the anonymous source now, right? In the media. You don't have to throw someone under the bus, but just tell the story then. If there's something there, say it. Don't allude that there might be because you're, you know, I don't know.
That's the thing too. Maybe I'm digging too deep into that myself, but they may just be referring to that outburst in the locker room when he said that day. I'm tired of being scolded for things I'm saying to you guys. So that
true.
Could be it too. So I might be digging too deep. Omer in the chat says Clayton's on the mark with his comments, as is Tim. For the most part, I agree with all they're saying. Let's see. Jim in the chat said Packers definitely have to take care of their own business. We can't depend on other teams to help. Absolutely. Yep. That's all you can ask for in a season like this, too. Jim also asked kind of the same thing that you were talking about, Tim. Didn't Jair refuse surgery? It seems like that's how I remember it, too, but I'm not 100% sure, Jim. Omer in the chat said, again, the fan base is split on him or get rid of him. It's wild.
We're not getting rid of him, guys. Like, they're not going to get rid of Jair. Just stop.
Hey, you know what, though, Tim? I agree with you. That's where my money would be right now. But I said the same thing about Aaron Rodgers after they signed him to a 3-year, $150 million fully guaranteed contract. And they traded him the next year. And I said, I'm done trying to predict this stuff.
So, that's true.
It's wild, man. Who would have thought that? Before, I get it. You want to move on. I got it. But after signing him to that contract and setting yourself up for a $41 million cap penalty for a second-round pick, I think everything's on the table, especially if there is something behind the scenes. And Josh going to them saying, look, I'm not happy here. I'm not happy with how I'm being told I can't say what I want to say.
I just think that then why didn't they trade him instead of Rasul?
That was the big thing for me too.
If it was so bad, why did Rasul go? And what's funny is if we look back, then if we didn't give Ja the bag and we let Jair walk, or Jair's playing football somewhere else right now, 100% Rasul Douglas is still a Green Bay Packer.
Yeah.
Right. So
I have to agree with that.
I mean, who knows? And I agree with you, Clayton. Who knows how this is going to play out? So, be careful with the sweeping predictions. You're right. So maybe I should walk back my Jair isn't going anywhere comments because you're right. It's the NFL, not for long. We don't know. And you're right. After what we saw Goody do with Aaron Rodgers, after how we've seen this Bakhtiari contract and saga play out, I mean, I don't know. You're right. I guess I can't say that. My gut is telling me that he's a Packer for a while, but I don't know. I just don't agree with the sentiment that just because a guy's injured that he's magically supposed to not be himself anymore, and that Jair should just be some stoic, keep his mouth shut guy. That's just not who he is. So
it's not going to happen.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. So now you're mad because why? He's hurt and he can't play. So you're mad that he's being him. I just, that's just my take on it.
As a famous coach once said to him,
I'm not going to, so quit asking.
I see Jeff Silky in the chat. Do me a favor, Jeff. Shoot me an email as soon as you can. PackersTotalAccess@gmail.com. We'll get everything confirmed that you it is you and not someone faking to be you with the email. And that way I can get your address and send you, or P.O. Box, whatever, and send you that autographed Dorsey Levens jersey, man. You definitely, you won that contest. So congratulations on that. Chris N in the chat said, Tim, I don't think you're in the minority. I don't know if you've kept up with it or not, Tim, at all or not, Tim, but the fan base is kind of split on this. But like he said, I don't think you're in the minority. It seems like the loud fans, the really loud fans, are the ones that, and that's not a rude, I'm just saying the people who are more vocal than others on Twitter, they seem to be speaking out against Jair. But I bet if you did a vote, the large majority would probably be saying, hey, look, shut up. There's nothing wrong with what Jair's doing, So I think that's what Chris N's saying there. Omer in the chat says, but hard when you don't know behind the scenes what is going on in the locker room, what the doctors are saying, and what's in Jair's head. Absolutely. Yeah, it's kind of like that with Bakhtiari, too. Bakhtiari kind of got me a little bit like, it was the Packers doctors that took care of that knee. I almost wonder if he's got a little bit of resentment, like, dang, I did everything y'all asked me to do, and this thing keeps blimping up on me. That's kind of
what makes me think about Aaron Rodgers when he had his surgeries. He elected to fly to California and have his guy do it, right?
And we're not trying to throw anybody under the bus. Don't think we got an inside track here and we're bashing because I was told by one of the gatekeepers you're not allowed to say anything about the training staff. Okay, it's just that's off topic too. So we got to check with them, Tim, before we make a comment like that. R Showers in the chat says questioning Jair's manhood is one thing, but the lack of info given he got the bag is not helping things. Packers communication is pretty poor. They're always going to keep everything in-house, though. Showers, you know how that goes, man, for sure. And rightfully so, I think. Jim, I like Jair's personality. A lot of people do, man. And the thing we've noticed, too, Tim, is like you and I are kind of the cutoff. We're about the same age, right? We're at that age where I don't really care. I'm all about free speech. And, look, be yourself as long as you're not hurting anybody else. I don't care what you do. You can – whatever. The older crowd, the people that are, say 10 years older than us, they don't like Jair. And everyone who's younger than us, they love his personality. So it's funny how the differing, opinions come with the differing age groups for sure. Chris in the chat said, I just think Jair is a super weird dude or super weird attitude. Definitely different. There's no doubt about that. Deadfish says that Dallas is up 7-0. I think they actually might have went up a little bit more now, but we'll check back on it here in just a second. Let's see here. Jim says, Tim, do you think Jair's shoulder will heal? Let's break out Dr. Tim here, man. Tim, do you think that shoulder is going to heal? What's wrong with the shoulder? What I'd like to know, man. I haven't heard any details of you.
No, I haven't either. So, I mean, all I can do is speculate, right? So, yeah, let me put my Dr. Tim hat on. I don't know. You smack up a shoulder really good. You miss basically half a season. Takes you a while to come back. You're kind of in and out. Re-aggravate it again. I don't think it ever gets better. I think you just learn to deal with this new, bag of bones and tissues that is your shoulder now, and you find ways to play through it or deal with it. But again, it's it's a DB with a shoulder injury that presents problems. Presents problems when you're trying to come up and defend a pass. It presents problems when you're trying to wrap up and tackle, let alone just shoulder hitting someone. So, I don't think Ja's in a situation where it's going to get better. I think it seems like he's in a situation where he's trying to do all he can week to week to be ready to go for Sunday. And if he's not there, they're not going to, you alluded to this, Clayton. This is the time of the year for guys to go ahead. If you're going to mix these next couple games. So maybe that's the logic. Maybe Ja's at 95% and they're like, it ain't worth it. Let's sit him another week. I don't know. I just don't think if you've got a nagging, it was like Clay Matthews with the hamstring, right? Did any of us ever think his hamstring was going to get better? No. Clay just found ways to deal with it and keep it as best he could with what that hamstring was to finish out his career. And to his credit, he did it. So I think Ja might be the same deal with the shoulder. Is it lots of physical therapy? Is it ice, heat? Is it, cortisone shot? Is it, whatever they got to do? I mean, that's the thing. They call it behind the scenes for a reason. There's a lot that we don't know and we don't see. I can't imagine what it takes being a player in that situation to try to get your body ready to go put yourself through the gauntlet every single Sunday. So, I'm just going to, like I said, I'm going to err on the side of, Jair wants to play football. And maybe some of this attitude is just pure frustration of the fact that he can't be out there, and so he feels like what he needs to do is be a inspirational leader and maybe show these young corners, what swag and confidence means and how to walk the walk and talk the talk. If that's all he can do to contribute to this team, I'm all for it. Guys are different types of leaders. So, but no, I think Ja's shoulder is going to improve. Hopefully I'm wrong, right? Every time I say something like that, I look stupid. So hopefully all of a sudden, he looks great and he's playing next week against Tampa and it's awesome. So I don't know, man. I'm going to go ahead and just support my guy no matter what. I love him when he's on the field and I gotta love him when he's off the field too, even if I don't agree with everything.
Welcome to the podcast world, Tim, where when you talk as much as we do, you're always going to be wrong, my man. It's going to happen. There's no getting around it, man. Doug Pointer in the chat said, wouldn't it make sense for the organization to get out in front of this Ja situation before it taints the locker room? I imagine they have had conversations behind the scenes. The part that's also puzzling to me is hearing Matt LaFleur's comments when they ask him about it. He says, yeah, it's just frustrating. And he just kind of changes the subject. I'm going, ooh, it seems like there's a little something else there. It's just odd to respond that way. But he kind of responded the same way with David Bakhtiari too. People thought, now that I think about it, I'm kind of thinking out loud here, Tim. He said, I'm tired of talking about it. I'm tired of talking about it, right? And people took that as, oh, he's frustrated with David Bakhtiari, and he wasn't. One of those situations too. Tim Reese says, Ja hasn't changed the last couple of years. The media love him. He doesn't sound or look any different from last year. He's edgy, but I bet the locker room loves him. I'm just sending positive vibes. Yeah, you could tell. I mean, I think all of his teammates do.
Yeah,
I do.
Where's the problem in the locker room other than this narrative that there might be one, this speculation that there might be one? We're on a 3-game win streak, boys. Like, what? Winning fixes everything.
Got to find some dirty laundry, my man. You know how it is.
Yeah, and I get it, and that's what certain members of the media like to do. And when you start controversy and you start speculating or create a narrative, it drives clicks, it drives content. We're not naive to that. We understand how this business of media works. I have no way to react, but other than my way as a fan, because I'm a fan, and I'm just going to ride with my guy, man. It is what it is.
Yeah. Trying to get a score here update because it looks like Dallas is pushing the ball again, and they might end up boat racing Philly. They're at midfield, 4 minutes left in the first quarter. Dallas is winning 7-0 over Philly. There's your PTA update.
Your live look.
Omer said Dallas should be tough to beat, but they're pretty evenly matched with those two teams. I guess talking about the game tonight. Yeah, it's cool to see two teams that have different styles, different schemes, kind of lock horns. It's always a good thing. Gray Matter 2006 says, if the defense is struggling with shoulders and the offense is struggling with hammies, then the defense should probably stop hitting our receivers so hard in practice. I'm going to pass on that one. Red Mo says, Ja is a goofy dude, but he's unapologetically himself, and I respect that. He wanted to play the last time he was injured, and this is no different. He wants to go ball out. Something else he mentioned, too, it's worth noting, is he pointed out in that presser, I played hurt multiple times this year, right? And I think he's kind of seeing, like, last time he played hurt, and he hurt it again, maybe that's kind of the frustration that he's seeing there. If you guys would hit that like button for us real quick so other Packer fans can find this channel, find this content. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us, guys and gals hanging out with us here on the Sunday evening. Paul Robertson says, people complained about the defense not being tough enough and we need more, quote, edgy players. Ja's an edgy player and half the Green Bay fans can't handle it now, shaking my head. It is funny. We used to be kind of the nice franchise, Tim. It was kind of like, we just need some dogs out there. We need some guys to be kind of edgy and hard. You get someone like Josh, got a little swag, and people freak out. It's just you're never gonna. I'm as bad at this as anybody, putting all the fans into one group, and that's just not the case. Everybody, fans different, and everybody's got their positives, as Mike McCarthy says, the likes and their dislikes. It's just cool to see how everybody reacts to different topics. It's definitely awesome to see all the diversity within the Packer fan base. Jeff in the chat says, Ja is a hell of a player, but when he wasn't elected captain last year, I wondered what was going on behind closed doors. See, I forgot about that, Jeff. Well, you got to bring it up, my man. That was frustrating for me. I definitely didn't like that they didn't name him captain and he openly spoke out about it. That bothered me a little bit. I can't lie. Let's see here what else we got. Jeff says, I'm not hating on Ja. When he is on, he's lights out. Dude is a $100 million corner. Yeah, man, that last game when he played against the Rams, like Tim said, you're only as good as your last game, man. Tim Reese says, I'm 10 years older than you, Clay, and I love him. Haha, you boomer. Tim, you boomer. My man. I like it. You look young, though, brother. You're aging well over there. All right, let's do this real quick, Tim. Let's look at the North. I know Omer was talking about it earlier. So the way the North sits right now, Detroit's in first place at 9-4. Minnesota's in second place at 7-6. Packers at 6-6. Obviously, we'll get that odd game out of the way tomorrow. And then Chicago at 5-8, which Chicago's doing a little bit better than I thought they were when I looked at the overall record here. Just, being one win behind us, really. But when you look at the division percentage, okay, if you look over the far right, the projections, they got Detroit projected at 11.1 wins, the Packers projected at 9.2, the Minnesota Vikings projected at 8.1, and the Chicago Bears at 6.7, okay? So obviously this is advanced analytics that's kind of going into the remaining schedule along with the healthy players, all those things. So Detroit's chances of winning the division is 77.5%. Green Bay Packers is 15%, and the Minnesota Vikings is 7.5%. That would suggest we're going to finish ahead of the Vikings, Tim, with the remaining schedule and all the injuries Minnesota's dealing with. That's great news. As far as chances of making the postseason, Detroit has a 97.5% chance. Minnesota is at 40.8%. The Green Bay Packers are now at 71.3%, and the Chicago Bears are holding out hope at their 2.0%. So we're now up to 71.3% chance of making the playoffs. Tim, that's great news in my opinion. Really, really excited to see them finish strong here, and let's earn it, man. Let's get into the playoffs, man. January football, come on, dude, come on. I'm all about it. Anything else you want to hit on before we talk about Pat Mahomes as we get ready to wrap up here, dude?
Sure. Really quick. Yes, I hope the Vikings implode, and I hope the Packers leapfrog them. And just one little circle back comment about the whole behind the curtain and behind the scenes thing at 1265. Let me tell you, a lot of fans, often like to talk about how, Green Bay is unique in the NFL, that we play things close to the hip up here. And, behind the scenes is something that's very guarded, and it's very hard to get a look behind the curtain. The Packers are not very open with sharing their inner workings all the time. And I know it can be frustrating in a society and in a world, like you said, Clayton, it's 2023. We are surrounded by everyone sharing everything all the time, cameras everywhere, behind the scenes look, check this out. I love the fact that we do things different here. I respect this organization. It's a testament to the old school era of football. What happens inside 1265 is their business, right? What happens inside my house is my business. And if you ain't invited in my house, you don't know my business.
Stop playing with him!
And it's a rare thing in the NFL now where, a lot of teams are an open book, and we've got more access than we've ever had before, which is also a good thing. I'm not saying that's detrimental, to each his own, but there's something about, being a little bit closer to the chest with your information and your, inner workings and movements, and maybe we don't understand everything. Hey, there's a reason for that. There's a reason for that. So I'm with it. I support it. I'm just going to throw my hat in that ring of argument that I actually think it's a good thing that we're still a little stuck in our ways when it comes to, keeping things private. Some things don't need to be shared, people. Not everything needs to be shared.
I love we got Omer in here saying stop talking about Ja, and everybody in the chat's commenting on Ja. So
I was just talking about the Packers. I didn't talk about
no, it's just hilarious. It's like I don't know what to do to make them happy. I'm going to try my best here. Red Mo says, so how about them other 52 players? There you go. Bleeding Green and Gold said, will it heal? Yeah, someday. Someday it will. Doug in the chat said, the sad part is there are a lot of, quote, boomers, I am one, who want Ja gone. That's dumb, as you guys say. Just wish he wouldn't talk about running the table until he's back on the field. Yeah, it's kind of a tough look there for sure. Saying, I told y'all we were going to run the table, and it's like, y'all, come on, bro, you get back on the field or just stop talking about it. Our Shower says, if Jair is the team leader, then have him on the sideline next to the DC, and nobody needs to say anything. Optics matter, and no young team needs a potential distraction. We understand what you're saying, but in order to be next to the DC, you'd have to be upstairs in the booth. But I got you, man. It'd be cool to see him kind of helping coach up some of the young players. But, with Ja, that'd probably be a show, He'd be faking that. And that's not Jair. Jair's not going to be fake. He's going to be himself. There's no doubt about that. This one right here is going to get you real amped up, Tim. Chris N says Packers on HBO next year, baby. What do you think, Tim?
Not if we make the playoffs. What are you
You
talking
got
about?
that right, baby. We're dodging the
about, man?
bullet. We are
Playoffs.
dodging the bullet. But
Playoffs.
what did you say?
Playoffs? Don't talk about.
Right. Yeah, we're going to talk about
Man, we running the table, man. We running the table. I told you. We winning out.
That's what Jair said, baby. All right, let's do this. Wrap up with a little Pat Mahomes. We're sitting here talking about culture and, is Jair bad for the team? Some people think he is. We don't think he is. We had a little incident here with Pat Mahomes today, the leader of all leaders, right? Mr. MVP and Super Bowl MVP himself. First of all, Tim always gets a kick out of this picture. Here you see Pat Mahomes with his Mahomes when he was younger here. Man, that cracked me up when you drew that comparison. That's Chiefs fans are going to come after me for this one, but it kind of look like Darlene from Roseanne back in the 90s.
It's funny watching all the youngins trying to figure out Darlene and Roseanne right now. Get on the Google.
Pat Mahomes did look a little weird when he was younger, didn't he? That's what they're thinking. They have no idea right now. No, so we had a little outburst on the sideline today from Pat Mahomes. They said he was going after a ref. Here it is, right? You can see him kind of being held back. It always cracks me up that someone's being held back. It's like, right. I'm sure you had an opportunity to do what you want to do there, Hoss. Now you got to play all tough.
He got real tough once he got over to his bench and had his team behind him.
Right. And this right here was the real scene, in my opinion. He looks like a little kid throwing a temper tantrum. Look how he throws that down.
Man, there's the guy right there. There, see, they keep Chiefs fans. Y'all want to be mad at somebody. If Kansas City wants to be mad at the guy who lined up in a neutral zone when you guys scored the game-winning touchdown.
Tim said, "That's that man right there."
Right there, Kadarius Toney. And hey, I'm not going to drag a player. He made a mistake. It is what it is. But if you want to be frustrated, be frustrated at your guy for having a lapse in communication there and costing you. Because that was a brilliant play. That was a heads-up play by Kelsey to, play some 1920 style football there and just throw that ball back to his boy for the tutter. But, hey, when you line up on the ball, kind of screws you over, right?
Yeah.
I just don't get it. Did you see the play, though, where was the call that Mahomes wanted would have been ticky-tack at best,
right? For
sure.
And what's crazy is, they've set precedent. He gets those kind of calls all the time. So now when it goes against him, he expects those calls. It's like they used to say about Dale Earnhardt back in the day when I was a NASCAR fan. It's like Dale would wreck everyone on the track every single week to get an advantage. And when someone wrecked him or they tried to penalize him for wrecking someone, he said it was like letting a dog pee on the rug for 6 months and then whooping him one day. He'd look at you like, what's the deal here? Same thing with Pat Mahomes. He's used to getting all those calls. And I know Chiefs fans disagree about it, but it's a fact, man. Our Showers in the chat said everyone should screenshot that and drop it in the Chiefs forum. That could catch fire. I think our Showers in here instigating what I think's going on, man. I don't know. I could be wrong. Jeff Silky in the chat says the Packers have some new stuff going on in the new building. They think gives them an advantage over the rest of the league. Murphy said as much. I don't know if you're being sarcastic or if that really happened or not. I do like this, though. Donald in the chat says Packers broke the Lions and the Chiefs. It kind of feels like it. It does kind of feel like it. All it takes, man, is one or two teams cracking the code and other teams start to follow. And now what they've got to do is they've got to take a step back and go, okay, the league is on us right now. We got to change things up. And that's what we talk about, the cyclical nature, the copycat league that is the NFL. It's what makes it so great. What makes the parity so strong in the National Football League. So, Tim, let's wrap this big bear up, man. We're over an hour, getting ready to hit it. What else you got for these fine folks here in the chat? You're muted, brother. We got it. We got it in.
There it is. Now,
one of us always
for the show. Tune in tomorrow for my next one. Big game, Monday Night Football, primetime football. Yeah, you're right, Clayton. This has all the makings of a trap game, but I'm going to go ahead and be Jair right now and be confident and say we are. Let's boat race this team on Monday Night Football. Let's boat race so all of you Sean Clifford lovers out there can see some Sean Clifford in the fourth quarter. I'm talking 52-10, epic blowout. I'm saying we're due. you're right, Clayton. You alluded to this before. As fans, we're due for something. I don't want to bite these nails throughout the game. I want to enjoy a nice Monday night boat race, right? That'll be nice, and I think it's possible as long as the team takes this seriously, which I think they will. And, we go out and continue to win. We control our own destiny by winning football games. That's all we can control. All we should be focused on right now is winning ball games. So looking forward to that matchup tomorrow night, prime time, under the lights. Banged up Packers team on the road again. I just hope they continue to keep playing at a high level. And I think we're going to get the dub for sure.
Oh, Tim said it. Tim called the shot. Yeah, man, when you got a trap game, the best thing to do is just go out there 110 mile an hour.
Yep.
And, if you go out there to play, not to win, and okay, they're kind of a weak team, let's hold this back. Let's make sure we don't make mistakes. Now, go out there like you did with the Lions and the Chiefs.
Yep.
And if you make mistakes, make them big, right? But come out there and play your game and do everything you can to keep that momentum going, right? Because you coming down the stretch here, it's going to take you keeping the momentum to get into the playoffs. And sometimes it's not the best thing that you've already got momentum coming into the back quarter. Sometimes it takes a loss right there at the end to create some momentum and make a run at the postseason. But with this right here, man, I think we got a shot, dude. I think we got a shot to do something special. But I just want to see them come out and boat race them, like you said. That's not a prediction. I'm not saying they should boat race them. I'm just simply saying, rather than come in there kind of playing conservative, go. I about said something bad. Go all in, right? Go all off. I keep forgetting I'm on a pod sometimes. And just lay it all out there and just go 110 mile an hour, right? If Aaron Jones is good to go, awesome. If not, sit him on the bench and just spread this thing out and wing it all over those DBs. As long as they're going to continue to play that single high like we talk about their tendencies show, don't be scared. Don't try to play conservative. Yes, you want to protect the ball, but put it on them early. Get them behind to where they have to lean on the pass more than the run. If they're playing from ahead, it's going to be a dogfight. I really believe that. Yeah. But if we jump out to an early lead, man, I'm going to tell you right now, if we do come out there and beat them by more than 14 points, this is going to be me during the post game right here.
Нет, скажи за Россию. За Россию. Пью за медведя. За Россию. За Россию, за Россию.
Bro, those Russians are built different.
That's going to be me and you at Lambeau week 17.
For those of you on the pod, that is a drunk Russian on what looks to be a grizzly bear drinking vodka. So it might get a little loose during the post-game show if they do come out and win big. But again, not trying to be cocky, just saying like the best way to avoid a trap game is just go out there and turn it loose, man. Don't try to play safe. Don't try to play conservative for sure. So Omer said he agrees. Let's see here. What else we got in the chat? Jeff in the chat said, Clayton, no joke, the Packers have something they think gives them a competitive advantage. And then Omer says that secondary in their D is their strength. They run the ball effectively and control the clock. We're going to have issues. And then JK just did the laughing emoji because of the drunk Russian, I'm sure. But with that being said, guys, we're going to get out of here. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us. Again, the big news tonight, Jair has been ruled out for the game, okay? Obviously, we're still in the number 7 seed, which is good news. We got a chance to kind of take another step forward tomorrow night. We're going to be back tomorrow morning with Good Morning Lambeau, and then I'm going to do a pregame show. Tim, you're welcome to join me for all this. We'll do a pregame show about an hour and a half before the game, bringing you guys the last second inactives to kind of get you set for Packers Giants on Monday Night Football. And then at the witching hour, if you will, after the game, probably somewhere around midnight, we'll go live for a post-game show and give you guys a wrap-up for what we hope will be a nice little victory post-game show. So that's the plan. But, Tim, appreciate you jumping in here, man. It was good to have you back. For those of you in the chat, really appreciate y'all hanging out with us. As always, you guys always make the show. For those of you listening on the pod, thank you for making us a part of your day. We'll see you tomorrow morning. As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world. Go Pack, go.
The power sweep. Actually, it's the lead play in our offense.
Come and tackle, take the defensive end if he's over him. If he's not, you drive down the first man who is inside. Pull back and get him. Take the first man outside the offensive tackle. No one shows. Go right by them and field inside. If the YN has the linebacker taken out, cuts inside. The YN has the linebacker in, he comes all the way around. If you look at this play, what we're trying to get is a seal here, and a seal here, and try to run this play in the alley.